Plato's allegory of the cave is timeless. In his time, it was just shadows on a wall shaping people's reality. Today, it's ideologies on the internet showing a false version of reality. Whether it's the manosphere saying every woman is a 304 with a body count that high, who will falsely accuse you of SA, the Black Pillars claiming it's over for sub 5 men, the child free movement claiming having a child is the end of life as you know it, or any other example I encourage you to name in the comments. It's not always an accurate real world reflection. Here's a brief summary ChatGPT wrote up for the allegory of the cave for those of you who haven't heard the story. Imagine prisoners chained inside a cave since birth. They can't turn their heads, only watch shadows cast on a wall by objects passing in front of a fire behind them. To them, those shadows are reality. They give them names, they argue about them, they build their entire world view around them. One prisoner is freed and dragged outside the cave. At first, the real world hurts his eyes. He's confused. He resists it. But eventually, he realizes the truth. The shadows were just reflections, and the world is far larger, richer, and more real than anything he'd known. When he goes back to the cave to tell the others, they don't thank him. They mock him. They get angry. Some would rather kill him than question the only reality they've ever known. The point? People don't just live in ignorance, they defend it. And leaving a false but comfortable reality is painful, disorienting, and often punished by those who refuse to leave. That was the summary according to ChatGPT. So yeah, today, echo chambers are the cave, while sensationalist clips and exaggerated stories are shadows on the wall. As Dutch West Films said in the comments of my last video, I think the manosphere influencers telling guys all women hate them are a horrible influence on guys who have limited or no expectations dating and see the world more through their computer than real life. Shout out to Dutch West Films for being a regular contributor to the comments section with great insight because he's right. Taking this message to heart could become a self-fulfilling prophecy, like how Elphaba Throp became the Wicked Witch of the West in Wicked Part 1 because everybody assumed she was evil because of her green skin, and eventually embraced the role to a small extent when Madame Morrible literally called her evil over the Emerald City intercom. Unfortunately, the self-fulfilling prophecy narrative collapses in the depiction of the events of The Wizard of Oz and Wicked for Good. But getting back to the allegory of the cave, internet echo chambers can be like the cave because people only see or hear the most sensationalist or insane things, like the woman who complained about a guy taking her to the Cheesecake Factory for a date last year. I'm sure women with that mentality exist out in the real world, but not all women are going to be like that. I should know because 5 years ago this month, I took Mississippi, the woman whose phone number I got on Christmas Day 2020, out for a hot chocolate date. She never tried having me Venmo her $50 for her time and the effort it took to get ready and get out there. She did not get up in my face about the hot chocolate date, undervaluing her as a woman. It was a pleasant little hot chocolate date, under the circumstances of mask mandates and COVID surges that resulted in her not being comfortable with going home to the South that year for Christmas. Unfortunately, that story will never go viral, even though I embellished it a little by calling it a date, which I never used that word to describe it with Mississippi. But the point is that people with the doomer mentality see the clip of the Cheesecake Factory date woman and interpret that shadow as reality. Sure, that mentality can be informed by a few bad experiences, but bad experiences happen, and as I learned from returning to AMC after putting up with Buzzkill Lightyear's hypocritical reactions to phone users and chatterboxes during the Toy Story re-release. Not every experience is going to be that awful. I could have canceled A-List right there and been like, fuck it, I'm never going back. But instead, I went to an 11 a.m. show of A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey the following Saturday. And while the movie was mid, nothing big, bold, or beautiful about it, the theater experience was significantly better this time, though nowhere near as good as the shared experience with the rest of the audience at the long walk before the Toy Story re-release. Despite the displeasure of sharing an auditorium with Buzzkill Lightyear that day, I kept going to the theater each Saturday like I'd planned, with each experience ranging from okay to great, with the worst things being technical errors at Tron Ares that delayed the movie, a Causeway Street usher sitting down in my theater in the final 10 to 20 minutes of my movie and using his phone, which I reported via the survey, and grabbing the wrong 3D glasses at Avatar 3. All of those and more are shadows on the cave wall I could interpret as reasons to stay home. However, like the escapee who discovers the world is larger and richer than the shadows on the wall, I experienced good things out there, like talking to the woman who sat next to me at Tron Ares during the wait for the issue to be fixed. I believe I told this story before, but I want to focus on the fact that she was nice, laughed at my quips, appreciated my aquarium photography from that morning, and did not get up in my face when I told her not to fish her 3D glasses out of the recycle bin, because we didn't know who had been wearing the other ones in there. According to the Black Pill interpretation of the shadows, she would have gone full girl boss shouting, "Take orders from men!" and worn 3D glasses that could have had germs that gave her an eye infection or something. Instead, she dropped them, washed her hands at my suggestion, and we eventually enjoyed the movie, which is why I was generous by giving the movie a 6.5 out of 10. I wish I had asked for her number, but there was a third wheel in the form of another guy, and I guess you could say I was making excuses, but I felt awkward trying to do that with him there. I could also go on about the great experiences I've had at the museum and aquarium, but I'd rather talk about how, despite some positive feedback to my telling my story, I've also experienced some pushback. Because, like the summary said, leaving a false but comfortable reality is painful, disorienting, and often punished by those who refuse to leave. I understand bad experiences happen, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that you have to find the fun, find the joy, find the silver lining. You have to stop taking TikToks and extreme behavior shown in viral clips as fact, when in reality, most people are still fairly normal and not complete phone zombies as Dapper Dev would call them. In my last video, I mentioned how South Station was described as a, quote, homeless shelter by someone on Facebook, and while it's still an exaggeration, their point about homeless people and panhandlers being prominent there checks out based on actual lived experience going there. The majority of the time, my experience at South Station's alright, and the key is to either minimize time spent there, or just keep walking so panhandlers are less likely to bug you. The worst experiences I've had there since being called Jeffy's bad word would have to be reporting a disturbance to Amtrak police, seeing them boot someone acting disorderly, and seeing a transit police officer heading outside to deal with the disturbance I could hear from the escalator to the Red Line fare gates. Sometimes the shadows have a basis in fact, but generally speaking, they're all exaggerated at best or staged at worst. Now, it might not be easy for everyone to leave the cave and touch grass, but I'd argue it's worth trying. Find something that catches your interest and give it a chance. Talk to people you meet along the way, and if they aren't agreeable, move on. Tolerate a certain amount of imperfection and nuisances, but not to an extreme degree, because life is suffering according to the Buddha. Try to experience life beyond your device. And when you come back to it, comment, I escaped the cave on this video, so I know you made it to the end of it. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like the video if you didn't already, and subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.